Yeah, very good morning, everyone. So, today and welcome to the sixth session of business laws for Section D. We have with us now Gautam Godra, Hemant Kumar, Mukul Swami, Prakash Chaudhary, Pushpendra Pal Singh, Rakesh Raika, Ravi Raman, Sangya, and Sashank. So now I'm just going to start my presentation today for the business laws, and as I have already told you, this is session seventh, sixth, sorry. So today we will be studying offer and acceptance. So offer or proposal and acceptance. So any one of you, can you please tell me what is an offer? Prakash Chaudhary.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is an offer?
Mm,
We have studied in the previous classes that in order to have an agreement, we must have some offer and that offer must be accepted. So what is an offer? Anyone?
So,
Yeah,
so maybe the terms and condition that one person proposes.
yeah, very good. The terms and conditions which one person proposes or put forward in front of other is called an offer. Now it is totally dependent on other whether he accepts it or not, right? So that is what the offer is. Good, Sangya, you have answered it, yeah, Sangya, very good. So,
Yes, sir.
offer and proposal and acceptance, we are going to study this today. So, one of the early step in the formation of a contract lies in arriving at an agreement between the contracting parties by means of offer and acceptance. So, offer plus acceptance is called agreement. So, until unless a person proposes certain things which is in his mind, which he intended to put forward in front of other, the other will not be able to accept it. So once a person has to offer or anyone has to offer, means two persons are there, two parties are there. At least there had to have to be two parties. So one is the offerer and other is the offeree, or you can say one is proposer and other is the proposee. Proposer actually proposes his terms and conditions in front of other, and and the other persons actually accepts it, and as soon as the other person accepts, he becomes the acceptor, and the contract and the agreement becomes the binding between both the things, both the parties. Thus, when one party, the offerer, makes a definite proposal to another party, the offeree, and the offeree accepts it in in entirely and without any qualification, there is meeting of minds of the parties and the contract becomes into being, assuming all other elements are also present. Right, contract will be happen if all other elements are present, otherwise there is merely an agreement. So what the thing is, a person, if he is proposing certain things and the other person without any qualification, without any exception to it, accepts it wholly, not partly. He has to acceptor has to accept it wholly in order to have the contract. So here in with this line itself, there is something which comes up, that there may be some things which offer may not comprise of, or there are certain things which are exception to a valid offer. So let us go in detail about offer or the proposal. So what is offer or a proposal? A proposal is also termed as an offer. The word proposal is a synonym with the English word of offer. An offer is a proposal by one person whereby he expresses his willingness to enter into the contractual obligation in return for a promise or an act or a forbearance. So it clearly says that a person, when expresses his willingness to enter into a contractual obligation. Okay, so a person must have a mind of entering into a contractual obligation with other, in return of a promise or act or forbearance from other. Or actually what he wants is that why I will put up offer, because I want other to accept it. Okay, so when a person actually puts an offer to other, that offer may be a act of promise which he wants to do, and he also want other to perform that, or may it be some act, may it be some forbearance. On that day, I just gave you an example that if I have uh, displayed my willingness to my neighbor that please do not open your window on this side. This is an example of forbearance, that I do not want him to do certain things and for which I am ready to pay him certain amount. So my willingness is to my willingness is that I will pay you rupees 50,000 if you will not open your window on my side. So this is forbearance. Or otherwise, when I want to purchase a car of someone else, so this is an act that I want him to sell that car to me. Okay, so this can either be an act or a forbearance, or it can also be a promise that okay, if you will do okay, for example, if a person finds my lost dog, I will give him rupees 1,000. This is also a promise, a act or a forbearance, a willingness which is displayed by or which is expressed by a person who proposes to others certain willingness, so that will be called as an offer. So offer can be in the form of promise, it can be in the form of act, or it can be in the form of forbearance. Okay, so section 2A of the Indian contract defines the proposal or offer as when one person signifies to other his willingness to do or abstain from doing anything with a view to obtaining the assent. Assent is the when a person is offering something to other, he wants the other person to accept. So assent is yes. Okay, to in a view to obtaining the assent of that other to such act or abstinence, he is said to make a proposal. So this is what is a clear-cut definition given. So there are certain words which are a bit confusing, but I have already told you the meaning of this in my in before showing this formal definition of offer or proposal to you. I hope you are able to understand this. So any problem in this definition to anyone? Pushpendra Pal, anything? Khushi Shekhawat, Matang.
Yes, sir.
So any problem till now? You
No,
are able
sir.
to understand? Fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us proceed. A person makes a proposal or offer is called a proposer, and or the proposer and the person to whom the offer is made is called offeree or proposee. Okay, so there are two parties. One will make the offer and other is to whom it is made. Okay. So there are certain rules which actually govern the offer and the acceptance. So the first most rule is an offer must be clear, definite, and complete. It must not be a vague. For example, a promise to pay an increased price of horse if it proves to be lucky to the promiser. So this is something is vague and it is not binding. That something which may prove to be lucky for me, right? So I will pay you the increased price. So how much price I'm going to pay, it is not at all certain, and even it is not certain that whether a horse will be proves to be lucky, and what is actually the definition of lucky, right? So such type of things are not at all complete. They are not clear. They are not defined, but these are vague. So vague things will not confer into an offer, or it may not be said that any offer has been made. Second thing, an offer must be communicated to the offeree. This is very, very important. Until and unless an offer is communicated to the offeree, it will not be a valid offer. An offer becomes effective only when it has been communicated to the offeree so as to give him an opportunity to accept or reject the same. So if the offer is not properly communicated, then it will not be called to be a valid offer. Communication of an offer may be made by express words, oral or written, or it may be implied by the conduct of the parties. Okay, so communication of offer must be either by the clear-cut words, oral or written, or it may be implied by the conduct. A offers his car to B for rupees 10,000. This is an express offer. I have yesterday given you example. A bus which is standing on a stand is again an offer. A bus which is plying means running between two on a definite route. Okay, goes along the street and stops at certain places. It is an implied offer on the part of the owners of the bus to carry the passenger for certain price or certain scheduled fares at the various stages. So it is an offer. So it can be offer can be either express or it can be either you can say it is implied. So this particular point comprises of the clear-cut examples of the express and the implied offers also. So it can be express or it can be implied. Further, the communication of offer may be either general or specific. Where an offer, so this is very important. So in general or specific means if it is a general offer, then it can be accepted by anyone. Or if it is a specific offer, then it can be accepted only by that specific person to whom the offer is made. It is not for everyone. Okay, when an offer is made to a particular person or a particular group of person, it is called specific offer, and it can be accepted only by that particular person and not by anyone else. Okay, suppose a person wants to marry a girl, so he proposes that girl that I want to marry you, but the friend of that girl who is standing beside the girl immediately accepts the offer. Okay, I am ready to marry you. नहीं, इसमें तो वो वाली बात आ गई अपनी हिंदी का मुहावरा ना, मान ना मान मैं तेरा मेहमान, वो वाली बात आ जाती. तो such type of things are not at all allowed. So if an offer is made to a specific person, that specific person must only accept the offer. It is not a public offer that anyone can come and accept. Okay, but when the offer is addressed to a certain body of individuals, suppose world at large or some community at large, it will be in general offer, can be accepted by any member of the general public by fulfilling the conditions laid down in the offer. So whosoever will fulfill the condition laid down in the offer will be open for all those persons who have actually fulfilled the conditions. Like for example, there is a KBC going on. So Kaun Banega Crorepati, there is some rounds which are to be done. So if you keep on calling them and your call gets connected and you get to know certain or you have answered certain questions, so definitely there will be, it is a general public offer. You can say it is an offer which is a general offer which can be accepted by anyone. So whosoever will clear the first round will be eligible to go in the next round. So that is something which is a general offer. But a specific offer is done to a specific person only. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
No, sir, sorry to disturb you, but sir, Tirthak Fultaria won't be able to join because of network, sir.
Who?
Tirthak Fultaria, sir. So I am just informing you, sir. His call was there, so that's why, sir.
So my dear, those who will not join, they will be marked absent. So you have 75% attendance. So no need to just inform all these things. Those who are not joining, they will be covered under that 75% of attendance themselves. Okay, Parth?
Okay, sir. Okay,
Yeah,
sir.
thank
Okay,
you,
sir.
thank you. But
Thank
still,
you, thank
thanks for informing. Right. So there is one famous case of Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. So this is a very leading case. So you must understand and know this case law. Okay. So the leading case on the subject is the Carlyle and Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. The company offered by the advertisement a reward of rupees of $100. This is actually not hash, this is dollars, to anyone who contacted influenza after using their smoke ball in a specified manner. So the advertisement was like that whosoever 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 will be using the smoke ball of that this carbolic smoke ball company will not be contacted with influenza ever. So this was the advertisement, but it has to be used in a specified way as mentioned. So Mrs. Carlyle used the smoke balls in the specified manner, but she was attacked by influenza. So what happened that she claimed the reward, and it was held that she could recover the reward as the general offer can be accepted by anyone. So she was just amongst the public, and whosoever just fulfill the conditions are eligible to get the claim. Since this offer is of continuing nature, more than one person can accept it and can claim it. It is not like a lottery ticket. Okay, so offer once announced, it can be done by anyone. So whosoever will be able to use the things in the specified way and contacted the influencer, they will be able to get the reward of 100 pounds or $100 at that time. Okay, so but the offer of the reward is for seeking some information. But if the offer of the reward is for seeking some information or seeking the restoration of the missing thing, then the offer can be accepted by one individual who does it first of all. For example, I have there was one more case in which one person was he actually got lost. So a person, so for example, a offer is that whosoever will get Daku Gabbar Singh will be rewarded with 10,000 rupees. So whosoever will get it first. Now Daku Gabbar Singh is only one. Okay, so whosoever will first capture him and bring him to the police, there is a reward of 10,000 rupees. And this such type of offers are not of continuing nature, because once Gabbar Singh is inside the jail, this offer automatically gets revoked. Okay, so if the offer is regarding seeking information, missing things, something like that, or so such offers cannot be of continuing nature, and the condition is that the claimant must have prior information of the reward before doing the act or providing that information, right? So one thing is very important over here, that a person who is not at all knowing that there is a reward of 10,000 rupees on Gabbar Singh, and he somehow catches Gabbar Singh and actually gives it to the police, but he is not knowing about the reward. So there may be some problem in getting the reward because he is not having the prior information. Actually, he is not acted upon the offer. He has not done anything in order to achieve the offer. That's why if he was not informed or he was not having the prior information of the reward, he cannot claim the reward in case of such offer also. Any doubt in this or anything you want to ask? I hope you are able to understand Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company case. Any other thing you would like to tell over here? You are most welcome. So one more case I would like to tell you over here, one more story that regarding this communication of the offer. Okay, that the offer must be properly communicated, was a famous case of Lalman Shukla versus Gauri Dutt, which is again discussed in the next point we are going to discuss over here. So Gauri Dutt sent his servant. Gauri Dutt he sent his servant Lalman to trace his missing nephew, and he then announced that anybody who traced the nephew would be entitled to a certain reward. Now, this Lalvan Shukla, who actually went to just trace the nephew, he actually traced him, and in ignorance of the announcement, he just handed over the nephew to Lalvan Shukla. But afterwards, he came to know that there was a reward, and he started claiming the reward. Now he was the servant also, and at the same time he was not at all knowing that there is a reward on the head of the nephew, and you have to either give the information about the nephew or you have to trace the nephew and hand it over. but he was, and because he was not having the prior information, held he was not entitled to the reward, as he did not knew about the offer, because he has not acted upon the offer as such, right? So this is one of the case of Lalman Shukla versus Gauridat, which is equally applicable over here. Okay, so it is again the Lalman Shukla versus Gauridat case. Uh, it was actually Harbhajan Lal and Charan Lal case was also there in India, which happened in the similar way. So he advertised in the newspaper that he will pay rupees 1,000 to anyone who restores him with his lost son. B, without knowing the reward, finds A's lost son and restored him to A. In this case, B did not know the reward. He cannot claim it. This is totally that Lalman Shukla versus Gauridat case, and it was again in India also. It was presented by this Harbhajan Lal versus Harcharan Lal in 1925. Okay, so this is actually Lalman Shukla versus Gauridat case, which is given over here. Okay, so let us proceed further. So an offer must be distinguished. So there it should be different. An offer must be distinguished from, there are certain things, an invitation to treat or an invitation to make an offer. So offer is totally different from an invitation to make an offer. Example, an auctioneer requests for the bids, which are offered by the bidders, the display of goods in a shop with the prices marked upon them, or the display of the price goods in the self-service store, or the shopkeeper's catalog of price. These all are invitation. They are actually inviting you to make an offer. They are not at all offering you anything. They are actually inviting you to make an offer. Okay, so whatever bidding is done, when bidding is done by a bidder, he actually announces the prices that whosoever wants to purchase this on this. So a person who raises his hand in bidding, he is actually offering. So now it totally depends on the bidder whether he accepts the bid of someone or not. Okay, so in that case, the person who is the people who are bidding for certain things, they cannot claim that I will, because I have won the bid, so I will be able to take, because it is an invitation to make an offer. It is not an offer. So offer is being made by those people who are participating in the bid. So it totally depends on the person who is the bidder, whether to give that particular thing to a person who has actually bid for it. So it has to be different from this. Even when you go in a restaurant, you get a menu card. So that menu card comprises of various things that is being sold by that particular restaurant. So now it is you who has to actually order certain things now, and at the same time the restaurant can refuse that we do not have this thing at present. They sometimes tell you, whenever you ask for certain things, they can say, sir, abhi to ye nahi ban sakta hai. So it doesn't means that the things which are given in the menu are being offered by the restaurant always. Okay, so you have to make an offer that I want to purchase this thing. Then they will tell you whether they accept your offer or not. So offer and invitation to make an offer actually is totally opposite of each other. So invitation to make an offer is actually the person is provoking you to come and make an offer to that person. Now it totally depends on that person to accept or not. Okay. Next is mere statement of intention. There is, if you are there, you are just making an statement that this is what it is. So mere statement will not be an intention. Example, an announcement of an upcoming auction. Thus, a person who attended the advertised place of the auction could not sue for the breach of contract if the auction was cancelled. Let me just explain you this case of Harris versus Nickerson. So in the case of Harris versus Nickerson, actually what happened that this Nickerson actually advertised that an auction of certain goods would take place at a specified time at a specified place. So this Harris, who traveled, actually he read that in newspaper that some auction is going on for certain thing, and he traveled to the auction place. And then afterwards came to know that the auction has been withdrawn, that there will be no auction going on that day. So what he did, he claimed the compensation for his loss of time and expenses, because he came all the way from one place to another, and he found that the things are not going on over there. So held the advertisement was only an invitation to make an offer, not an offer. So the auctioneer who has actually given it was, he actually invited the bidders to make an offer over there. So it was not an offer that he will be doing certain things. That's why there is no question of breach at all. The breach of contract was not there because there was no contract at all. So in this case also, mere statement of intention will not be. He has just given a statement of intention that he intend to actually sell the things by the process of bidding at certain place and certain time. So the mere intention, you cannot consider this as an offer. Okay. Is your mere communication of information in the course of negotiation, right? Can also not be an offer. It's just a mere communication of information. For example, a statement of price at which one is prepared to consider negotiating the sale price of the land. It cannot be considered as an offer. It mostly happens when we are selling our property. Then sometimes we just offer certain, we just put one thing, one price. So just a statement of price can never be an offer. The offer that has been communicated properly continues as such until it lapses, or until it is revoked by the offerer or rejected or accepted by the offering. So this in this case of Harvey versus Facey, what happened? There was the communication happened through the telegram. So first telegram was regarding the, will you sell us your bumper hall pen? The bumper hall pen was one of the big place in London. So bumper hall pen actually was a very big hall. It was a property. It was not a pen to write. So telegram actually it was like that. That, will you sell us the your bumper hall pen, question mark, and then telegraph the lowest cash price. Countries. Idiot fellows, they do not even know that class is going on. So I was telling you about that telegram which got exchanged. Will you sell us your bumper hall pen and please tell us the lowest cash price? So in return the telegram came, the lowest price for bumper hall pen is £900. Now what happened? Again there was one more telegram that we agree to buy a bumper hall pen for the sum of £900. Now here it was not concluded that there was any contract between the Harvey and the Facey. So this is actually the transaction happened between Harvey and the Facey, and there was actually no contract happened, because it was just a statement of price. It is not at all being asked for that whether you accept it or reject it or what. It was just asked that, will you sell us the bumper hall pen and please give us the price. Just like that, nothing more than that. And the other person gave the statement, and that statement was a price statement, and that was considered as an acceptance, which is not at all an actually there was no offer and no acceptance happened. Only an intention was asked that, will you like to do? There was no certainty also in this. So this is the case of that mere communication of information in the course of negotiation cannot be an offer. It should be different. It should not be considered as an offer. Next is your lapse of an offer. So section 6 deals with the various modes of lapse of an offer, then when the offer will be treated to be lapsed. Okay, so that is how it is. So so first thing is when the offer will be lapsed. It is not when it is not accepted within the specified time, if any, or after a reasonable time if none is specified. So it is not accept. Suppose, for example, a person has offered someone to just asking for some, you can say, uh, uh, a car to be sold, and he has given a sufficient time for other person to respond, and the person has not responded, so offer gets itself lapsed. So it will not be, or it has been revoked by that person and it has been given to someone else. The hell, people studying unnecessary. Okay, so it is not accepted, or secondly, it is not accepted in the mode prescribed, or if mode prescribed in some usual and reasonable manner. For example, please accept by sending an email, or please confirm by email, or please confirm by telephone. So if you are asked to confirm the or accept the certain things by one mode, and you are not at all following that, and you are sending it by only a post, or you can say only one call, okay, okay, we accept it. So that acceptance will not be counted as an acceptance, especially in the case of government tenders. If you have been asked to just put a tender for a for some contract which government has given you, so that contract has to be actually, uh, made in that way, or the offer is to be made in that way in which it is to be it is specified. Otherwise, it will not be treated as a valid one. Or you can say it is called even the acceptance, when it is not at all asked, when it is asked for it to be in certain way and it is not there, then also it is said to be not a valid acceptance, and even the offer will be lapsed if the acceptance is not met in the mode in which is asked, in which it is asked for. Third point is the offeree rejects it by distinct refusal to accept it. If the offer is totally rejected by the offeree to whom it is made, it is again the offer gets left. Once rejected, and then afterwards again he comes up, okay, okay, I will take it up. So once he is rejected, then it is left. Then if again he is asking for it, okay, I accept it, then it will be again a counter offer from his side. Okay, so it will not be considered as an acceptance also. When we will be going with the rules of acceptance, this will again come. So either the offerer or the offeree dies before the acceptance. So if there is a condition of death, then also there will be, it will be of no use. Means such acceptance, because acceptance cannot be granted because of and even the offerer dies, then also means the actually the contract is suspended, or the proposed contract will be suspended. So next is, if the acceptor fails to fulfill the condition which is important for the acceptance, then also it will be treated as if it has been lapsed. Okay, and the point, and the last point is the offeree makes a counter offer. For example, if I have asked someone, okay, would you like to purchase my car for 1 lakh rupees? So the other person is saying, no, no, I would like to purchase it for 90,000. So I have offered him, and again he has countered offered. So the counter offer is itself, and again one more offer. It is not an acceptance. So so these are the conditions. If you make a counter offer, the initial offer gets lapsed. Okay. So what there is one more thing which is called revocation of an offer. An offer may be revoked by a offerer at any time before the acceptance. So if it is if a person has given the offer and he actually takes it back before it is accepted, then it is called revocation of an offer. Like an offer, revocation must be communicated. Again, this is again very important, that if you have revoked the offer, as you have communicated the offer to the offeree, you have to communicate the revocation also to the offeree, and it must happen before he accepts it, as it does not take effect until it is actually communicated to the offeree. Because if revocation is also not communicated, then also, and you have revoked it and the communication has not reached to that person, still that person is having a chance to accept it. That's why it has to be followed by a proper communication. So before the actual communication, the offeree may accept the offer and create a binding contract. The revocation must reach the offeree before he sends out the acceptance. An offer to keep open for a specific time is not binding unless it is supported by a consideration. For example, when we are selling our house or selling our property, we ask for some earnest money. If the earnest money is not given, then it is not binding. So it has to be supported by consideration in one or the other way. So now we are going with the acceptance. So please tell me if you have any point to discuss over here. Yes. Any problem? Anything you would like to ask or anything you would like to say over here before we go with the acceptance rules? Yes, Mukul Swami.
Hello, sir. Yes, sir.
Nothing. Hope you have understood everything. Pushpendra Pal Singh. Nahi?
Yes, sir.
Shaurya Dikshit. Everything understood? Shaurya?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Excellent. So let me take this further to the acceptance. So acceptance, you know very well. Uh, a contract emerges from acceptance of an offer, because until and unless acceptance is there, the offer, merely offer, will not make any contract. So acceptance is must. It is an assent. It is in the form of yes. If you propose some girl to marry you, and the girl has to give actually acceptance for the offer which you are making, or the proposal which you make mostly on the Valentine Day, right? So that has to be accepted. Until and unless it is accepted, it is of no use. You just merely, you cannot dream of that girl, and you can just not think like that. Okay, I have dreamt of someone, and my job is done. Until and unless the acceptance is there, the things will not move further. Am I correct or not? Sure.
Yes, sir, correct.
Have you tried it?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. So under section 2B of the Contract Act, when a person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, the proposal is said to be accepted. So until and unless the proposal is accepted, it is not a promise. So, but as soon as it is accepted, it becomes a promise, right? So promise, but mere promise will not make a contract. Promise is an agreement that both the parties, in the same way, in the same sense, in the same time, for the same thing, have agreed upon. So there is consensus ad idem, and the both parties have actually promised themselves to execute. So when there is a promise, it is called executory. We have read about the executory contract, right? So that thing has to happen. Okay. So there are certain rules governing acceptance. So first most thing is acceptance may be expressed by words spoken, written, or implied by the conduct of the parties. So how it will be done? So for example, if I want to sell my car for rupees 10,000 to Mr. X, so Mr. X has to accept it and give me the earnest money in order to accept that he also accepts to purchase my car for rupees 10,000. Now a bus which is moving on the road, if you want to accept the offer, you go and sit in the bus and ask for the ticket. So that is an acceptance by you for in an implied way, right? So if a particular method of acceptance is prescribed, the offer must be accepted in that prescribed manner only. Okay. So whenever you are offering certain things, or you can, their offer is to accept a certain agreement by writing a email, or by writing a letter, then it has to be accepted only in that way. So there sometimes there is a suppose for example your university also announces you that if you want to appear in the exam you have to fill certain form. So until unless you fill that form and you apply for it, you cannot just ask that okay I have accepted. So acceptance will be only it has to be in a prescribed manner. So until unless this prescribed manner is followed, it will not be counted as an acceptance. So acceptance must be unqualified, absolute, and must correspond with all the terms of the offer, because if you have changed any of the terms or any of the things, or you have qualified the acceptance, that qualified acceptance will not be counted as an pure acceptance. It will be a it will become a counter offer. Okay, so a counter offer or a conditional acceptance operates as a rejection of the offer, and it causes it to lapse. For example, where a horse is to be offered for 1000 and the offer counter offers no, I will pay you 990 rupees. The offer lapse and this 990 itself becomes the offer now. Now it totally depends on the other person to accept it on 990 or not. Okay, so whenever you make a counter offer, the counter offer actually takes the form of the original offer and there is no acceptance. Okay, you cannot say the other person actually has accepted, but for 990, you cannot say like that. Actually, he is offering the horse, offering you to purchase your horse for 990 rupees, not for 1000. Okay. So acceptance must be communicated to the offer. As offer is to be communicated to the offeree, the acceptance must also be communicated to the offer. For acceptance is complete the moment it is communicated, because acceptance will be completed only when it is communicated. Where the offeree merely intends to accept but does not communicate his intention to the offerer, there is no contract. So mere mental acceptance is also not enough. Suppose you have proposed some girl and the girl has smiled and you are very happy that she has accepted. So you are a fool then. Okay. So because it has not been communicated, because she might be smiling on something else. Okay. She might be smiling on your foolishness. So these type of things one must be, it is not, it merely, it will not be treated as a communication. So communication on offer must be also be clearly communicated. Or even when the when you are offering someone to offering, suppose for example, uh, you have asked for okay for rupees 1 lakh I want to sell my car. The other person asks for okay, can you give me the keys? Now you cannot assume that the person has purchased your car. Okay, so this cannot be there. So one has to be it has to be communicated properly, and even you cannot say okay I thought I have already accepted it. You cannot do that too. So there has to be a clear cut acceptance. So mere silence on the part of the offeree does not amount to the acceptance. Ordinarily, the offer cannot be framed in such a way that the words like okay if you do not reply till certain period of time I will assume it to be accepted. Okay, so you cannot make such an offer that please reply otherwise it will be treated as accepted. Oh please, you cannot do like that. Okay, so there is again a case of Feldhaus versus Bindley. So F offered by a letter to buy his nephew's horse for $30, saying, "If I hear no more about him, I shall consider the horse as mine at $30." The nephew did not reply, but he told an auctioneer who was selling the horse not to sell that particular horse because it was sold to his uncle. The auctioneer inadvertently sold the horse. Held F had no claim against the auctioneer because the horse had not been sold to him. His offer of of $30 not having been accepted. Actually, I think you are able to make out what happened in the case. So there has to be a clear cut acceptance, and you cannot keep silent. You may have done certain act which is also not known to the uncle. Okay, you have told the auctioneer not to sold that horse, but auctioneer inadvertently or unintentionally has sold the horse. Okay, maybe for more than $30, and the uncle has filed a suit. So it is not maintainable until and unless you have clear-cut communication of the acceptance. Now next is if the offer is one which is to be accepted by being acted upon, no communication of acceptance of the offer is necessary unless the communication is stipulated for the offer itself. Thus, if a reward is the suppose for example, the reward is offered for finding a lost dog, the offer is accepted by finding the dog itself. It is not necessary that you communicate that okay, I am accepting your offer and now I am going to find your dog. So it is already there that you have accepted by doing that. Just remember the Cargill versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. She actually purchased the smoke balls and applied all the techniques by which she was eligible for the reward. That is merely sufficient in order to have the acceptance, right? So you cannot say, okay, the person has not actually communicated. So acceptance in that case need not to be communicated, right? Next is acceptance must be given within a reasonable time and before the offer is revoked. This is very simple. It doesn't requires any explanation. So acceptance never precedes an offer. Okay, you cannot just before offering you cannot just get the acceptance. Okay, so there can be no acceptance when the offer is not communicated. So until unless the offer is communicated, there is no meaning that there will be an acceptance. In the same way, there was one thing because there was no offer actually acceptance for the Lalman Chukla versus Gauri Dutt wala case. If you remember, I have just told you about that. Actually, Lalman Chukla was not at all aware of the offer even. So when a person is not at all aware of the offer, there is no question of giving the acceptance. And he actually, without knowing anything, he just got the son of Gauri Dutt and he brought in front of him, and he claimed the reward afterwards, which was not given to him because he himself was not able to communicate the offer. Then acceptance of offer is very, very far away. Okay, so this is thing. Now there are certain types of offers. There are standing offers. Okay, and there are tickets. There are contracts by posts and there are contracts over telephone. So we will be discussing this tomorrow. I think that it's a time to wind up the class. We are already taken. I've already taken 2 minutes more. Fine. So I hope you are able to make out the things in today's class. So let me take the attendance once again.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, do you want me to send the assignments on your personal mail?
No. You just keep it with you. I will take those from you whenever. Not
okay,
now.
Sir.
I will tell you how to proceed further with it. Don't worry. You call me up. I will just tell you what to do with those. Right? It's great that you have done a great job by creating the email ID also, and that email ID will be used for assignment purpose in future too.
Yes.
Fine. Chandresh Kumar. Chandresh, are you there? He only created sound and screen. Now again, I don't know whether he is on his bike or a car. Drishti, Gautam, Harshit,
Yes, sir.
Kumar, Karthik,
Yes, sir.
Karthikeya,
Present, sir.
Kushi, Aksharat Singh, Manan,
Present, sir.
Yes, sir.
Prakash Chaudhary, Pushpender
Khushi
Pal
present.
Singh, Rakesh Raika, Ravi
Present,
Ravan,
sir.
Rohan Modi, Shaurya Dikshit,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tarush, and Tirthak.
Yes, sir. Present, sir.
Yeah, great.
Karthik in present, sir.
So thank you for being in today's class and have a nice day. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Yes.